Alright guys, we're gonna break down the Athena boons in this video. So we're gonna start at the top of her boon list, okay? Divine Strike. A very strong strike, but it doesn't offer a status effect. So it's weak in that regard until you pair it with one of the later boons, Blinding Flash. Otherwise, this strike is very strong for like very mobile builds. Anything with the shield, you deflect when you attack, which is pretty good. So it's gonna give you a little bit of invincibility there. Yeah. Otherwise, it's solid. It's probably like high tier, like middle of the pack for the strikes. It's definitely a solid one. It's just unfortunate it doesn't offer you. I mean, initially it doesn't offer you a status effect. Next is the Flourish. So this also offers Deflect, which gives you a little bit of invincibility on the startup of the move. Bonus damage 60%, so that's solid. It's okay, you know. It's also kind of just like middle of the pack. It depends on like what you want for a build. Taking like any of her like basic stuff is just gonna offer you Deflect, and some invulnerability, and that's fine. It's just not going to give you a status effect off the bat, kind of similar to Poseidon with Ruptured Shoals. You need to get the status effect. You need Blinding Flash to get her status effect. Phallic Shot I think is actually pretty good. It shoots like a moving, like kind of large projectile that deflects anything that it comes in contact with. I think it's actually pretty solid. I use it a lot, like versus Hades when you're up close and you know he's going to throw that green skull at you. I'll use deflect that if I don't have Divine Dash or something like that. So it's a good defensive tool to use it at like any range, honestly. Phalanx Flare is specifically for the Aegis Shield aspect of Beowulf. So instead of shooting this projectile, you cast damage foes around you and can deflect. So it's a powerful range attack. It's pretty solid. It's similar, of course, to Phalanx Shot, 80 damage, which is okay, you know. But this is specific to the aspect of Beowulf for the Aegis Shield. Next down, Divine Dash, probably the best dash in the game. Most probably the best dash in the game. One or two, but it's like 90% definitely one. So when you're dashing, if a projectile hits you, you're going to deflect it. This is really good just for like. Sometimes you get caught in the bullet hell rooms and you'll be able to deflect all that nonsense. In Elysium, when those purple arrows are firing, you can deflect those by just dashing through them. This is just one of the most useful boons in the game, and I always recommend picking it up. If your build doesn't rely on a dash, you should definitely have Divine Dash if you're able to find it. So yeah, always pick this up if you can. Next up, Athena's Aid. I think it's okay. It makes you invincible. It makes any attacks that hit you deflect. Effect duration 1.5 times 6, so max gauge bonus 6 times. I think it's one of the weaker aids, unfortunately, or calls. You don't do so like Ares. You're invulnerable and you deal damage while you're the Blade Rift. At this, you're just invulnerable. So I generally don't pick this up if it is offered to me. Next up, Holy Shield. After you take damage, damage goes around you briefly with Deflect. After you take damage, damage goes around you briefly and Deflect. So this gives you Deflect for a short amount of time if you've taken damage. Revenge damage 30. It's okay. If you're playing a build that you're trying to stay kind of invulnerable the whole time, again, Aspect of Chaos for Aegis Shield is a great weapon for Athena. It will help you maintain your deflect longer, so definitely check this out. It's alright. It's not a high priority for her. So yeah. So next up, Bronze Skin. Resist damage from foes attacks. 5%. Solid little damage resistance thing if the other boons that come up are something you don't need and you just want some extra resistance from foes. A solid boon. Another one that's not a priority pick for myself. Next up, Deathless Stand. Death Defiance makes you impervious, longer, replenish when used. So this is only something I'm really going to take if I've lost a life. So this will replenish one, and then it will add the added effect of when you respawn from dying and you use a Death Defiance, you'll be impervious longer. So, you know, it's solid in that situation. Otherwise, we'll never take this. If I don't have a Death Defiance already gone, I'm not going to take this. Last Stand is similar. Death Defiance restores more health than usual. Replenish one use. So I would honestly take Last Stand over Deathless Stand. So you're going to get plus 10% health on respawn from a Deathless Defiance. So I think this is the one to take over Deathless Stand. But I'm still not going to take this. I don't think anybody should take either of these unless one of your Defiances are already down. And there's something better from Athena you can take. Next one is Proud Bearing. You begin each encounter with God Gauge partly full, 20%. It's pretty good, especially if you're relying on your call a lot, or if you want to have it up very consistently. You pair this with some of the other things that charge your God Gauge fast, and you're going to be able to use 2 or 3 times your call fight. When talking about bosses anyways, you're going to use it 2 to 3 times. Next up, Sure Footing. This is very low priority for an Athena build. Once you get like really good with your mobility and your movement, you shouldn't be stepping in traps too much, aside from maybe the Hydra fight when you have the second version of that fight where there's a lot of lava. I feel like that's really the only time you're going to encounter stepping in traps a lot. Otherwise, this is one of the lowest priority boons you should take from her. Honestly, no priority to take this. Just make sure your movement's solid and you're never going to need the reduced damage from traps. Okay, next, I think are her most 2 important boons outside of her attack, her Divine Attack and Divine Dash. Blinding Flash. Your abilities that can deflect also make foes exposed. Bonus backstab damage plus 50%. So once you hit them with the deflect, if you hit them with the attack in the back, it will do an added 50% damage. Okay, this is your status effect for Athena. This is very important for a proccing privilege status, so you definitely want to grab this and make sure and then grab whatever your secondary status is going to be if Athena is your primary boons to build. So this is definitely for Athena heavy builds is a must take. Definitely take Blinding Flash. This is also, so you need one of those on the side, on the right here. Divine Strike, Phalanx Shot, Phalanx Flare, Divine Dash, or Divine Flourish to be able to get this, okay? Also, this boon is one of the prerequisites for her Legendary Divine Protection, which we'll get to shortly. Next up, so that one is a top tier Athena boon, so that's definitely something you want to make sure you grab. Brilliant Repose, also something you want to make sure you grab. I would say get Blinding Flash first. Oh yeah, so Blinding Flash isn't a prerequisite for Divine Protection, but that's fine. But I would say get Blinding Flash first, and then Brilliant Repose. Brilliant Repose is the only prerequisite for your Legendary, but you have to have Divine Strike, Divine Dash, Holy Shield, or Divine Flourish to be able to get this. What it does is, when you deflect attacks, it deals more damage, so it adds additional damage to your deflect, which is, of course, good if you're using Divine Dash, or Flourish, or Strike. You know, deflecting those, the shades, like the purple balls, is going to do a lot of damage, especially when you get the cluster them that explode. Definitely want to deflect stuff like that, and you'll end up killing a lot of the shades or the enemies with your deflected attacks. So her Legendary, okay, is Divine Protection, and it's really, really good. You know, it's one of the better legendaries. It's one of the better legendaries for survivability, just in general. So what it does is, you have a barrier that negates an instance of damage, and then it despawns. So you'll have like this big golden shield rotating around you. If you take a hit, it will despawn, and then it will refresh in 20 seconds and be up again. So every 20 seconds after you get hit, it will come back up. So this is really good for just eating damage. The prerequisite for this is Brilliant Repose. You want to take Brilliant Repose anyway, so that should make getting Divine Protection easy, okay? In an Athena build, you definitely want to aim for this, because pretty much you only need 2 boons to potentially get this. So you need Divine Strike or Dash, one of those 2 really strong boons, and then Brilliant Repose, and then you're eligible to get Divine Protection. And it's definitely a must for a really good Athena build. Next, we'll get into her duos. The first one is her and Artemis. After you deflect, briefly gain plus 20% chance to deal critical damage. Effect duration is 2 seconds. So this is a really good duo if you're running a crit build. So what you need from Athena is Divine Strike or Flourish, I think, which is fine because you'll probably take the Divine Strike. And then from Athena, you'll probably take her Flourish or her dash is one of them. True Shot, Hunter's Flare, Artemis Aid. So if you're running a crit build, this is definitely something that you'd want to grab. Because deflecting, you're going to be doing that very consistently, especially if you have the dash and getting that plus 20% critical chance for 2 seconds. You'll probably proc that very consistently. So that's a pretty strong duo right there. Next up is Parting Shot. This one is Athena and Aphrodite. Your cast gains any bonuses you have for striking foes from behind. So I think this one is solid. So bonus backstab damage is 35%. You can take any of the following: Divine Strike, Phallic Shot, Phalanx Flare, Divine Flourish, Divine Dash, Athena's Aid on Athena's side, and then for Aphrodite, Passion Dash, Crush Shot, Heartbreak Strike, Heartbreak Flourish, Aphrodite's Aid, and Passion Flare. Yeah, so this, it's okay. I don't ever really prioritize backstab damage, but this is good for mobile builds, like for the sword, the Stygian sword, or the Aegis Shield, or even the Spear. So it's solid. It's not something that I prioritize though in an Athena build. Next one is Stubborn Roots. This is Athena and Demeter. While you have no death defiance, you slowly recover health. Life regeneration, 1 health per second, pretty much 0.8 seconds. So you need the standard Athena boons, and then for Demeter, Frost Strike, Missile Dash, Frost Flourish, Crystal Beam, Ice Flare, and Demeter's Aid. I also think this is like very low priority if you're running Athena Demeter, because if you're like me, you're running your mirror traits where you have the 3 death defiances, so you're not really going to be worried about not having a death defiance, so you'll need to recover health. I wouldn't prioritize this like ever unless you are running the single death defiance. Next is the Lightning Phalanx, which is Zeus and Athena, what you need from Athena: Phallic Shot, and then Lightning Strike, Thunder Flourish, Thunder Dash, or Zeus Aid, one of those from Zeus. What it does is your Phalanx Shot cast bounces between nearby foes, max bounce is 3. I actually think this is pretty strong if you're running both of them. It's going to bounce off of 3 enemies, up to 3 enemies, and if you have Jolted for Zeus, this is going to also apply status effects. So that's pretty good. So I would rate that one like moderately high. Next one is Calculated Risk. This is Athena and Dionysus. Again, for Athena, standard stuff from her. From Dionysus, Drunken Strike, Drunken Flourish, Drunken Dash, Dionysus Aid. Your foe's range attack projectiles are slower. Foe projectile speed reduction 40%. I would only really recommend this, right, if you are really worried about getting hit by projectiles, because you shouldn't be with Divine Dash. So I'd say the priority for this is pretty low. I would never worry about getting this with the Athena Dionysus build. The last 2 duos, Athena Poseidon. You cannot be stunned. Resist some damage from bosses. Boss damage reduction 10%. You need the standard from both of them. One from Athena, one from Poseidon. One of the strikes, the dashes, the flourish, your casts, your aid from each. One of each from both. Also low priority, boss damage reduction 10%. It's okay. If you're really worried about taking that much damage, grab it. It's not the worst duo you can get, but definitely not a priority. Last one, Merciful End. This is Athena and Ares. Your abilities that can deflect immediately activate Doom Effect. So this is pretty good. So if you're running an Athena Ares build, sometimes you get the delayed Ares boon, but that adds damage. But if you have this, you'll get that added damage from the delay, but you'll be able to activate your Doom Effects immediately. Your abilities that can deflect immediately activate Doom Effects. Doom combo damage 40. You need Divine Strike or Flourish on Athena's side, a Curse of Agony or Curse of Pain, which is Strike or Flourish on Ares side. So that's actually a pretty strong duo. We're just gonna recap what's really strong for her real quick. So go back to the top. So Divine Strike and is definitely one of her strongest. Flourish is solid. Phallic Shot is pretty good. Phalanx Flare for the Beowulf is solid. Divine Dash, her strongest boon, easily her strongest boon. So I would always recommend taking that. Athena's Aid is probably one of the weakest calls in my opinion. Holy Shield and Bronze Skin are solid. If you want some extra deflect from Holy Shield, definitely grab it. Deathless Stand, Last Stand, only take them if you're missing a Death Defiance. Proud Bearing, good for call-centric builds. Sure Footing, almost always a no, you don't need it because you should not be stepping on traps that consistently where you need to worry about the damage coming through from them. Blinding Flash, Brilliant Riposte, probably her third and fourth best, next best boons. I mean, Blinding Flash is definitely a necessity for any Athena build. So you can get that exposed and help get an extra status effect to proc your privilege status for the extra 40% damage. Must have for an Athena build. I also think Riposte, Brilliant Riposte is a must have for Athena build. It's a prerequisite for her legendary. When you deflect attacks, it deals more damage, 80% more damage, deflect damage. So yeah, get that. And then her legendary, definitely one of the better legendaries in the game. It will help you survive any encounter you have, especially if you get it early. Definitely very helpful with the boss fights, in particular Hades. And now a lot of people struggle with him. So if you're having trouble just surviving these boss fights or hard encounters, definitely pick up Divine Protection. Definitely a must-have in a Athena build. Deadly Reversal, a great duo if you're running a crit build, because you don't have to go that far into getting Athena stuff to get this duo. Okay. Lightning Phalanx, also a strong duo if you're running Athena. Zeus, again, you don't have to go that far in. All you need is a Phalanx Shot from Athena, and then a Lightning Strike or Flourish or a Dash or Aid from Zeus, and you'll be able to have potential to get this. Okay. Lastly, Ares is again one of the stronger duos for her. The way to proc your Doom effects early, Doom combo damage 40, great. So if you're relying on Doom heavily, I know I did at the start of a lot of my runs, I was using Doom builds a lot because Doom does a good amount of damage. This helps you get that damage off faster without the delay from the Ares boon. But yeah, I think overall Athena is really strong. Her strengths really lie with the Divine Dash and Divine Strike and a few of those duos and her legendary. Yeah, it just makes it a lot harder for you to take damage, and some of the damage you get from this is also pretty consistent. So all around, just like, it's solid offensively and like really amazing defensively, her boons. So yeah, thanks for watching. Definitely subscribe, check out some of my other videos where I run through with different builds, and check out my Twitch, which is linked below, where I do a lot of different runs with different weapons and all the different gods and their boons. But yeah, let me know what you think of Athena and the video, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.